So I wanted to do a little video this morning on approaching diet and longevity. I did a video before about why I think people get discouraged with diet, but I kind of want to talk now more about how to approach it, because diet is individualistic. Like, what's good for one person might not necessarily be good for another, depending on what's going on with your body at the time. Not just your genetics, but what's going on with your body because of what the choices you've made over time and how your body responded to that, maybe genetically or what have you. But the thing is like, so right now I'm in San Antonio. We spent the night here last night because we're moving our daughter out of her dorm to come back home for the summer and Texas State there in San Marcos. So we stayed here for the night, and this morning I got up and I got a protein bar, something convenient, and yeah, that's processed, but I tried to find something with high protein, less carbs, had a little bit of whey in it. My body don't respond very well to whey, but the reason that I pick something with high protein and lower carbs like that first thing in the morning is because I have a problem. That I developed a problem of my sugar dropping, like hypoglycemia. So I need protein from the research I've done to mix with carbs and stuff so that my body doesn't just dump insulin right away. So that's something I'm working on. And some people have the opposite. They have high sugar and their body's not dropping enough insulin. And people have a variety of different things. So once you can kind of narrow down what your problem is, or if you have any, then you can start attacking your diet from that angle. You know what I mean? And I would suggest, I was in a pinch this morning. I knew I needed to eat and things like that, and I'm not at home. So I picked, the protein bar. But because we're not all going to get it right. You know what I mean? Your diet's not going to be 100% all the time. And you don't want to overwhelm and stress yourself out about that stuff. And that's something that I really think is the biggest thing. The biggest killer is stress. If you get stressed out, it messes your body all the way out, all the way up. And the way to avoid stress for me, like, you're going to be in stressful situations. You're going to have to deal with hype situations. I know I do at my job and everything else. I don't think that you should avoid those situations. I just think that you should find a way to deal with them or cope with them and be able to stay relaxed in those situations. And the only way that you're really going to dominate that is with stress, is your relationship with God, in my opinion. If you can get yourself spiritually right and you can get that feeling of surrender that everything's going to be all right, then it's a total freedom like you never felt before. And even though you may get it, or I may get that, there's still times where our faith struggles or whatever, and then it goes away. But you have to go back to him and seek him so that you can be like, okay, none of this matters anyways. I mean, it matters for me to be here and do my best and help people, but ultimately, this isn't the end. And, when you get that peace about you, then the stress, it goes away. He'll take it. So that's number one as far as stress. And I think that that's our biggest killer. So once you get that out of the way, and the worry of that, and the worry of how long I'm going to live and how long, you want to be healthy and strong until you die. That's the whole reason we do this. Like, nobody wants to be sick and hurting and all of that. So we want to make efforts to be as healthy as we can so we can be there for the ones that we care about and we love. And that's the thing. I mean, think about this. Moses was 120 years old when he died. And, God told him, because he had disobeyed him, he wasn't going to get to see the promised land. he told him he could go look at it, but he was going to die. So he goes up the mountain and he gets to look at it or whatever, and then he dies. But it says when he died at 120 years old, he still could see and was still strong as he was as a young man, right? So if that's the case, and that right there tells you that we have the ability to be strong up until the point we go, and sometimes God's will is not for that, but we can. So we should always try to make an effort to be the best we can so that we can be the best we can be to help others, like our family and friends, community, so on. So before I get too off track with that, let me come back to this. When you approach your diet, once you get rid of the worry of stress and how everything's going to happen, or how it's going to play out, then you should see your doctor, get your blood work done, do those sort of things, and see what's going on with you. What do you have a problem with? And then don't give up on it, and don't just say, well, why even worry about it, and start taking medicine and all of that. And I would try to avoid taking medicine as long as I could. Now if your doctor tells you you got to have it, then you should take it. You don't want to do anything to put your life in jeopardy. But let's say you're pre-diabetic, or let's say, that you got high blood pressure, but it's not quite high enough, or it comes and goes. Then start taking steps to eradicate that before it gets too bad to where you have to be on medicine, or try to prolong having to be on medicine as long as you can. As long as you're healthy in doing so, you should always still seek help from your doctor or whatever, and monitor your stuff. But the thing is like, once you figure out and pinpoint whatever problems you have, if you have any, then you need to approach it with like whole foods, like I spoke about before, and why people get discouraged about diet, and you're not going to be perfect, but try to set you up a routine pattern of eating the same kinds of whole foods. Maybe prepared a little different, watching the amount of sugar you intake, even if you're not diabetic or pre-diabetic or any of that, or got hypoglycemia or like low blood sugar, high blood sugar. Everybody's going to have spikes and stuff in their insulin and their blood sugar and stuff like that if they have a diet that's all messed up. That's a lot of times how it leads to those problems in the first place, and you get insulin resistance and all that. That's how I got it. That's what I believe, because for the longest time I ate high sugar things and would eat all kinds of stuff, and I didn't eat good at all. I was working out and lifting weights and all that, but I was eating crap, all that processed food, all those junk foods, ice cream, just all that stuff, all that high sugar. So you're constantly raising your insulin. So even if you don't have those problems yet, and I hope I hope you never do. I pray to God you never do. But the thing is the way to avoid having those problems is to go on and get yourself a balanced diet. Get you a diet to where you're not spiking your insulin so much, and maybe don't go the other way either. Maybe find something in the middle. Don't start off just fasting. I did that for a little while, and that stuff messed me up. I did it for like 3 weeks. I lost a lot of weight, but I got dizzy, felt like I was going to pass out at work. I was fasting during the day and just eating one meal a day, and I was eating really healthy foods, plant-based foods, like a big salad and all that, but I still wasn't getting enough electrolytes and stuff. So if you're doing that and then you start working out too, your body still has to have calories. You shouldn't take it from one extreme to the other. And also it depends on how much fat you have on your body to lose in the first place. Now, I'm not saying that fasting is a bad thing. There's a lot of benefits to fasting, obviously. But I think that you need to approach it with caution, like don't start off when you haven't fasted and start just doing all day one meal like right away. I think that maybe you should do a day, and try one day, and then the next week try it again, and then if you want to go into 2. And I think that depending on any pre-existing medical conditions you have, you need to talk to your doctor about that before you do it, man. Don't just take anybody's word or anyone. I don't care how many viewers they have or how many subscribers or anything. Like, don't just take anybody's word, man. That's your life. Even when you go to the doctor, you know, look at your blood results, and when you get your physical every year, look at your stuff, because sometimes they'll lump you into a range of this is normal between this and this, but the next year you may notice that your stuff's different. It may still be in the normal, but what's normal for someone else might not be normal for you, you know. So, and that way you can question the doctor on it a little harder, you know what I mean? So you have to watch out for your health too, because they have a guideline to go by, and they're not always going to be 100% right, you know, on what's going on with you. So you have to be able to look at your own health and tell them what's going on with you and how things have changed for you in the past few months, so that they can investigate it further, and then they may say, oh yeah, okay, I see, it may be something else. But anyway, approach your diet like that. Find out what's specifically wrong with you. If it's not, try to get a balance. Try to balance your sugar, like your intake and stuff of it. I wouldn't be trying to spike it. If you don't have like hypoglycemia or anything, I wouldn't be eating 5 or 6 meals a day. You know what I mean? You might have to do that to regulate your stuff at first with whole foods, and you might be 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, but you're gonna have to try it for yourself on an individual basis, and and see what works for you. And just approach everything with caution when you do it. Try to eat less processed foods, and try to eat more plant-based foods. I believe that meat, there's benefit in eating meat, protein and things like that. I really try to stay away from pork, and I eat beef, but I try to eat it in moderation. Fish, I believe fish is really good for you, but I mean, there's a lot of things about the quality of fish and things that go on in the world, and I get that, and so you have to pay attention to those kind of things. But at the end of the day, like, don't stress yourself out, like I said, because you're never going to get it perfect. I mean, you're never going to get everything absolutely perfect, and you're never going to live forever. You know what I mean? At least not in this world, So all you're doing is just, I think you're gonna do a lot better to not get so stressed out about these things, but to still approach them, with discernment. Approach them with caution, and try to make healthy choices. Don't just say, oh well, we're all gonna die anyway, so might as well just eat like this. Well, yeah, that may be true, but you may die 30 years earlier just because you decided to just not care at all and just gave up your health. And then what good are you going to be to those who love you if you just do that? So find you a diet, or get your diet based around, or your whole foods as much as you can, and less processed stuff. I would try to eat meat in moderation if it were me, and and I would base my diet, or what kind of, and sometimes a diet like the keto diet or different things like that might be a better diet for you based on what's going on with your body, or how your body reacts to it or responds to it. So you just kind of have to test those things out. I'm just telling you, when you start testing out different, and don't be afraid to do it. I mean, don't be afraid about, well, I have to write everything down and get this diet perfect. No, you do the basic diet, you're going to see the effects of the diet. Even if you're straight off of it a little bit, you're going to see those effects of how it affects your body, and you're going to know if this is for you or it's not for you. And then you can try something else. I'm just saying, when you do it, it's better that you don't go so hard with it for so long to that, because if you do that, then you got more of a chance of putting yourself in jeopardy, or in harm's way, and that's what you don't want to do. So learn how to deal with your stress, learn how to relax, and learn how to be like, you know what, God, I know you're in control no matter what. I'm doing the best I can. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to try hard because I know that you expect me to try. But I'm not going to worry about every little thing, because, see, that's when the enemy comes in. You know what I mean? He wants you to worry. He'll try to get you worried about you trying to do something right, to be around, to take care of whoever, trying to take care of your health as you should, but he'll try to get you worried about how you're doing that. You can't worry like that. You just try to make, take baby steps, take one step at a time. And, I would even say, change your habits over a week, or week to week. If you notice, like, let's say you have a real crappy diet like I did, and I think I would have been better off to do it this way too. Is if because I had a lot of problems when I lost weight that quick, and I did it like that. Like it threw my body into like shock, and I was getting dizzy all the time, and I didn't know what was going on, so then it messed with me mentally, and I didn't know why I was having because I was eating so healthy. I was eating nothing but plant-based stuff pretty much, but I just lost weight too quick, and my electrolytes were always so low in my body. My body was always used to having so much more, and man, it wasn't until I started eating again several meals a day that things started balancing out, to get things right, to build myself. I would say, knowing that, being through that, and knowing what I know now, because at the end of the day, man, my goal wasn't to look like GQ or to look like my goal was to be healthy and to feel good, and it wasn't to be Mr. Six Pack or to be in the best shape. That's still not my goal. I want to work to keep myself as healthy and in as best shape I can to be around for my family, but I want to feel good. I want to feel strong and good. That's my goal, and so I'm not trying to be on the cover of a magazine. So the thing is I wish, knowing what I know now, I wished I would have took it, slower. I wished I would have just changed my habits. Like, if I knew I was eating too much sugar, maybe cut that out for the first week. All the sugary stuff, or cut it in half. You know what I mean? Or change to like fruit instead of all of that sugar I was eating. And or that processed sugar. And I was drinking a lot of caffeine too, so I would have just cut that in half instead of cutting it all the way out. Like, I even cut caffeine all the way out. I did all kinds of stuff, because when I started having more problems, I just cut something else all the way out, and it just gave me more problems. It's like it was putting my body in shock. So and some people may call that a detox, but man, let me tell you something, it wasn't worth it not to do it like that. And I'm finding that if you just take it slow and give your body more of a chance to adapt, then you get the same result without all of the grief, So if you're drinking too many sodas, like, then one week say, you know what, I'm only going to drink, if you're drinking several a day, cut it back to one a day, in the evening as a treat. And the rest of the day, say, I'm going to drink water. Or, if you notice you don't drink a lot of fluids in the day, then try to drink more water. Try to make sure you're having electrolytes too. I think that was something that was confusing for me, because I felt like you were supposed to drink more water to get healthy, but your cells aren't actually getting that water. They're just going through and you're pissing them out, and you're also pissing out all your electrolytes. You're just flushing your body all the way out. So you got to make sure that you have electrolytes, not too many electrolytes, but you have to have them. There's a balance there. So, and you don't have to read all this in one night and study all this stuff in one night and learn everything. You just take small steps, and you constantly learn and read, and you get your body better over time, and you develop healthier habits over time. But, think about this. If you change one thing in your diet every week for a year, well, there's 52 weeks in a year. If you hone in on it a little over the year, not to say that you're ever going to have it so perfect that you can't ever go out to dinner, or you can't ever have a piece of cake, or you can't. No, but if your daily habits, though, you change for your main daily habits one thing every week, you're going to be 52 times better on your diet at the end of the year. So you're going to be healthier. You're going to see that compound interest, over time. So anyways, I know I ramble on sometimes, but I don't follow a script. Those are my thoughts on it, and that's what I think. And I think you should just approach your diet with caution and see how it affects you individually based on what you have going on, or based on what happens as you start trying these different diets. And most definitely the biggest thing I feel like is stress. If you can learn to relax, and you'll be stressed out and don't even know you're stressed out. And there's one way that works the best to deal with that, and that's to go to God. You know, however you see God, or however you view God, you need to go to God, and you need to tell God, hey, I trust in you, and you need to leave it with Him. You can't take on the world. We're not designed like that. We're not designed to carry all that. That's why we get stressed out. That's why people struggle with anxiety and all that, because we're not designed to handle all that. But you know what we do? Pridefully, we try to handle all of that. And guess what? It handles us. That's what ends up happening. And we're over here, anxiety, everything going wrong, and your body's all off balance. You know, I know that y'all have heard of people that have been 80, 90 years old, 100 years old, and ate eggs and bacon every day, and drank a couple Cokes every day, and lived their whole life. Their grandma that did that, or their grandfather that did that, and but they weren't stressed out about everything. They weren't all stressed out. I'm telling you, that's in my belief, that's the number one thing. They weren't worried and stressed about all that. They were. If you're always worried about everything, man, if you cling to your life, you'll lose it. But if you give it up, and I don't mean like don't care about it at all, don't take care of it, but if you give it up, which means you surrender to God, you cling to God instead of your own life, then He'll give it to you. That's what it says. So, and I believe that. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, and I want y'all to take that approach, that stress-free approach about diet and all that. I mean, I don't even really look at it as diet. The word diet, it has negative impact with it. I just feel like the way I eat, I'm just changing the way I eat, my daily habits of eating. And I don't have a strict code that I have to stick to as far as I always have to eat this way. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I just want to share that with y'all. Maybe it'll help y'all in your journey and whatever. And you just keep exercising, and you try to make small incremental changes in your diet, and based on you as an individual and how it makes you feel. Pay attention to how you feel. And you're going to go a long ways, and things will change over time. Be consistent. I love y'all. God bless y'all, and I hope y'all have a good day.